This girl is one of the most aggressive vegan activists. Her name is Tash Peterson.
You're responsible for their murder if you're not vegan!
To promote her ideas, she regularly disrupts restaurant operations, animal exhibitions, and even attacks random people.
You have blood on your hands!
In Australia, she's already banned from 80% of pubs and restaurants, kicked out of hotels, and arrests have become part of her daily life.
Stop supporting this violence!
But is she truly fighting for animal rights? Or is this all just a loud PR stunt to profit off her scandalous fame? One of her favorite targets is KFC. She storms into public places, pours fake blood everywhere, and plays sounds of screaming animals to draw attention to the problem and make the world a better place. However, this method unsurprisingly doesn't work, because most people are skeptical or even openly negative about her actions.
30 billion land animals are brutally each year, along with 2.7 trillion marine animals.
What's even funnier is that the KFC she protested in was practically empty. A few people stood by the counter and one man sat at a table looking like he couldn't care less. He's just like, let me finish my burger.
You're allowed to protest.
Yeah, we are, yeah, freedom of speech, yeah.
The outcome of such protests is always the same. The restaurant owners call the police, she's taken away, and then she has to pay fines for the damage caused.
What's the issue? You've got dead bodies there, mate. What's the issue with showing people the animals before they get killed?
Surprisingly, her activities go far beyond simple signs and peaceful protests. In this video, she insults and aggressively attacks a simple fisherman.
I will call you a f***ing animal abuser, because that's what you are. You're disgusting. You're an animal abuser.
You're more disgusting.
It's guilt. That's
You're
guilt
actually
right there.
stabbing animals in the throat. That fish was just f***ing moving around, suffocating to death.
She calls people who've done nothing wrong abusers. She believes that fish are just like humans and supposedly deserve the same rights. And this, in her opinion, gives her full moral authority to humiliate other people.
I know you don't want to listen because you don't want to think about how you would feel if you're in the victim position.
In one episode, a father and son were fishing on the shore. Upon seeing them, Tash lost control. She started crying, trying to grab their fishing rods, rescued the fish by removing it from the hook and throwing it back to the water. After that, she of course berated the fisherman, recorded a dramatic video for her social media and just left. The man wasn't doing anything illegal, he simply needed to call the police on a crazy woman trying to take his property. But that's not all. Apparently finding real fishermen in Australia is either hard or they just don't feel like looking. So activists have resorted to staging videos where they depict aggressive fishermen to show how irrational they supposedly are.
Guys, you are comfortable being animal abusers?
I'm just trying to have a fish. Can you just leave me alone,
These
please?
fish want to live? What's the
Mate, I don't
problem,
want
mate?
to.
You're actually an animal abuser. What'd you call me, mate?
Oh my god!
Vegan.
In this clip, fishermen allegedly attack vegans, not the other way around, creating the illusion that all fishing enthusiasts are crazy psychos you should avoid. To avoid upsetting competitors after KFC, she went protesting to McDonald's. This time it seems the lesson was learned and she decided not to pour fake blood everywhere, probably because the fine from KFC for property damage was too high. But even without paying, the police arrived even faster and the protest ended as predictably as before. She was arrested. What amazes me is the resilience and composure of the people around her during these moments. They just continue living their lives as if nothing happened. Perhaps such crazy activists have already become something normal for them.
So today I'm going to be walking out in public completely topless. The female breasts have been sexualized by society. However, there's nothing sexual about them. A woman should have every right to be topless in public, just like a man does.
She claims that women's bodies are overly sexualized in society, and according to her, there's nothing sexual about them. Yet at the same time, she undresses to draw attention to her issue. By doing so, she acknowledges the sexuality of her body and deliberately uses it to attract attention. Do you understand how just logical this logic is and how she contradicts herself? Just think about it. She protests against sexualization while exploiting it for those very protests. Aristotle must be cringing hard in the afterlife.
But I'm just going to be out here in public because if I did it in a busy place, someone would be outraged and offended and they'd call the police on me and I'd get charged for public nudity.
But then comes another question. What's the point of stripping in the middle of the forest where there's no one around? It's a wild area where anyone can run naked as much as they want. Where's the protest here? If no one sees you, your message doesn't reach the audience.
I was topless and this was actually a protest against the dairy industry.
This essentially reflects the level of logic in all of her actions. Animals are suffering, so I need to strip. sheep, show my naked body. And this will make people stop eating meat.
Cows enslaved in the dairy industry are and forcibly impregnated.
During one of her protests, she once again stripped, came to an animal exhibition and started shouting her usual slogans.
Animals feel pain. Just like us. Their bodies. Not ours. Their lives. Their bodies. Excuse me, what did you call me?
Some truth, you dumb.
Here you can clearly see the strategy Tash uses in all of her protests. The whole concept of her activism lies on the idea that her shouting should provoke reactions from people or force them to justify themselves. But when someone remains calm and composed, she is completely disarmed.
Please do
Let go of the camera.
We will comply if
Let
you
go.
do not stop. It's disgusting. It's actually disgusting.
It's funny that when her boyfriend was detained by security, she was complaining that their actions are disgusting, even though he was simply detained. At the same time, she doesn't find it disgusting when her boyfriend regularly insults other people.
Animals are people.
What?
They are. Animals are not people.
Absolutely they are. They have personalities, they have self-awareness, they have kinship. They have everything that comes under a person, pretty much.
She claims that animals and humans are the same. In my opinion, the difference is as small as between a fly and a bear. Overall, Tash's level of thinking is truly astonishing. It seems like she hasn't even opened a biology textbook for elementary school. She simply doesn't understand that there are clear biological differences between humans and animals. These are two entirely different evolutionary species.
Alright, do you think it's necessary to eat animals though?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's good for you. It's better for you.
Yeah.
What do you mean by necessary? Because I'm a vegan, he's a vegan, we're alive, so
Eating meat is not absolutely necessary, but then again, using the internet isn't either, yet you are using it. If you consider yourself same species as animals, and animals don't use the internet, so maybe you should also stop using it.
6 months old when they were forced into a carbon dioxide gas chamber where they suffocated to They thrashed so hard that their feet came off. You are an animal abuser if you eat animal products. Shut up and get out! Are you proud to be an animal abuser? Are you proud to be a right to know the truth? If you consume animal products, you are an animal abuser. The blood is on your hands.
Ironically, her sensitivity to meat didn't stop her from showing up to a protest holding a pig's head. She claims that anyone who eats meat is an abuser and a murderer. But with this approach, she's unlikely to achieve her goal. By accusing everyone and positioning herself as an antagonist, she automatically causes rejection. She opposes herself to the whole society and then hopes people will start listening to her.
The animal rights activist who ran onto the ground during WA's first ever AFL Women's Derby says she's not sorry for the stadium stunt.
In front of more than 35,000 people, Tash Peterson hit the ground running, leaping from the grandstand to grandstand her cause.
Another crazy episode. The activist interrupts a football match, ruining the enjoyment of the game for 30,000 spectators. The football fans must be so grateful to her. Perhaps some of them might even support her noble cause, though that's hard to believe.
But she says she isn't sorry.
like I understand that, you know, it's an important game for them and
Would you do it all again?
yes, 100%.
As always, Tash Peterson doesn't shy away from public nudity. She firmly believes that this is the only way to draw attention to the problem. Her logic is simple. As long as you're dressed, no one will listen to you. But the moment you take your clothes off, success is guaranteed. And everyone will immediately paying attention and start doing what you say. And of course, it's no surprise that she has an OnlyFans account. But what's truly surprising is how much money she manages to make on this platform.
Converted for your leather bag, down jacket and woolen jumper.
And what did she achieve in the end? People simply looked at her like she was crazy and went back to shopping.
Louis Vuitton have blood on their hands, and if you're not vegan, you paid for their brutal murder.
Did she change anything? Yes. Now the word vegan for many people will associate with crazy naked women who run around, shout aggressively, disrupt people's lives, and demand special treatment. It's funny how these activists believe that everyone owes them something, while they feel no responsibility towards society.
Animals feel pain. Just like us. Animals have families. Just like us. Their bodies. Their skin. Their wool.
Sometimes Tash Peterson seems to realize that fines and lawsuits aren't the best bonuses of her activism. That's when she opts for softer protests. Instead of breaking into private property, she blocks entrances and stands on the street with signs and shouts. What's the result of these actions? Nothing. Her videos are usually flooded with dislikes, and the comments are full of criticism. What's most striking is that I haven't seen a single person say, "After this I became a vegan." No one. The only outcomes of her protests are people's irritation, and more proof that her methods only provoke rejection, not reflection.
Sniperwolf thinks I'm worse than that vegan teacher.
I always thought the vegan teacher was the final boss of vegans. No, there's more. I can't show her, but she's literally covered in red paint.
Yes, so that's not red paint, it's actually my period blood. Brutally murdered every year just for
You've
human
never
food
visited
consumption.
my place.
How do you know?
Because if you had, I don't use artificial insemination. I run my bucks with my herd. My bucks get the girls when the girls are in season, and it's their choice to stay on their mother. We only take the excess milk. So you're talking a load of shit. Let me ask you something. If I'm abusing my animals, why is it that I can walk out in the paddock, I can call them by name, and every single one of my animals come up and want to rub their faces on me if I'm abusing them? Why are they so friendly to me?
This is why Tash Peterson mainly tries to engage with young people in her videos. Only they can be impressed by scary pictures of cows and emotional scripted phrases. She avoids serious discussions with adults because many of her arguments are illogical and easily debunked. How many people has she convinced to stop eating meat? Let's say in most optimistic scenarios she manages to convert 1 million people to veganism in her lifetime, which will never happen. What will that change? Nothing, because there are billions of people in the world, and most of them eat meat.
You're one of these people that runs into restaurants and plays screaming animals in abattoirs and so on. It just annoys people, has the opposite effect to what you hope.
No, I don't think so at all. I think it brings more attention to the animal holocaust.
It's clear that Tash Peterson sees nothing wrong with her actions. She believes that any means of attracting attentions are good. But this is pure idiocy, because by attracting only negative attention, she alienates people and undermines all other vegans. This is supported by the fact that many vegans criticize her, find her method absurd, and want nothing to do with her. They argue that her behavior only discredits veganism.
The vast majority of vegans and animal advocates do not do this sort of in-your-face activism in your face. So if a form of activism isn't convincing people, or it's actually having the opposite effect, then we would want to avoid that form of activism.
In this video, another vegan shares scientific studies that claim such disruptive activism has the opposite effect, provoking people to eat even more meat. This means her actions not only fail to help vegans promote their worldview, but actually make things worse.
On average, meat eaters reported 0.6 more weekly servings of animal products after watching a disruptive protest compared to those in the control group. What's the point of activism again? To influence people, right? The evidence we've had on activism has pointed against stunts like these. And yet Tash and others continue to turn to them. It's very frustrating, and it's hard not to see it as this is just what they want to do. Like I said, I don't want to go into restaurants and yell at people. This is not fun.
Well, it seems that Tash's strategy not only doesn't work, but also causes harm. Moreover, according to the research, even non-disruptive forms of activism have no effect on changing people's beliefs. People who have no understanding of human psychology and biology try to influence others and change the world. And then they wonder why nothing works.
Non-disruptive protests also didn't change people's other behaviors in our experiment.
You're probably wondering how her boyfriend feels about all these protests.
Well, he's the one shooting the videos.
Seeing Tash half naked or even fully naked with lingerie on in public, I just found it quite strengthening for our relationship.
What? Well, I'm out, man.
This protest in a restaurant became one of the most high-profile events in Tash Peterson activism. It drew worldview attention and even made the news.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And the fact that these people, I mean, how narcissistic, how arrogant, how entitled do you have to be like, these are my life choices, and now I'm going to make your life hell until you don't eat meat 100%. Or eggs or cheese either.
It reminds me of Jack.
The restaurant owner banned vegans after a conflict with someone who couldn't find vegan dishes on the menu. This gave Tash an excellent excuse to storm into the restaurant at peak hours with a whole crowd of irrational followers.
The sounds you hear now are pigs screaming for their lives inside carbon dioxide gas chambers. They burn from the inside out. You're responsible for their murder if you're not vegan. And
the patrons were shocked by the level of aggression and behavior from the activist group. They ran around the restaurant, shouted, and played sounds of squealing pigs. This wasn't a peaceful protest, this was a direct violation of the law, as she disrupted public order. When the staff pushed the vegans outside, they continued trying to break in, often physically resisting the workers. With the same logic, she might as well storm into your home and demand you stop eating sausages. For many, this incident was the last straw, and as expected, Tash Peterson faced the consequences.
5 people came on top of me, like ripping my hair, and Jack came in to help me and he got punched. So we're just in the hospital now because someone punched Jack.
Public aggression toward Tash became just the first step from angry people. For years, she cultivated this social hatred and is now reaping what she sowed.
We've just arrived at the Crown Towers Hotel and they've come knocking on the door to say that I've been permanently banned from Crown. And so essentially, we have to pack our shit up and leave. So we're being kicked out for doing nothing, for giving them our money to stay in a hotel.
Just think about it, she genuinely doesn't understand why she's being kicked out of a hotel. It seems that she doesn't realize that in society eyes she has become a crazy freak that no business wants to deal with, and she has the audacity to be surprised and play the victim. Moreover, she's been banned from all the pubs in Western Australia because she is considered a threat to public safety.
Next week we are going to court as a result of a disruptive protest that I did last year. As a result of this protest, I've been charged with trespass, refusal to leave a liquor license venue, and disorderly conduct.
It feels like the universe has started paying Tash back for all the negativity, aggression, and destruction she brought with her. And I'm glad that finally someone noticed her and decided to hold her accountable. This simply couldn't go any longer. Such consequences are a clear sign that her activities are destroying society rather than improving it.
I have been convicted with 3 criminal offences as a result of a protest that I did last year at a restaurant who had banned all vegans from their venue. I've received $2,500 in fines and a community-based order, which means I cannot leave the state of Western Australia.
Sooner or later, technology will advance to the point where producing lab-grown meat will be cheaper and more profitable than raising animals. At that point, the dreams of all vegans and all animal rights activists will come true. However, this will happen regardless of their protests and interference. The role of activism is greatly overestimated. Only activism backed by the money and power works. It's very presumptuous and arrogant for radicals like Tash to think they can globally change processes that are supported by the global food industry worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
I was recently convicted with 3 criminal offences. So here I am on day 1 doing my community service, and they've sent me out to a farm in rural Western Australia. I'm going to be picking up animal shit, digging holes and doing all sorts of farm chores.
Any activity can be judged by its results. For Tash Peterson, the results are negative. She doesn't attract new supporters to veganism, she only discredits it. Unless you count her income from OnlyFans, then perhaps she's doing well. Her antics irritate and anger people. As a result, for most people, veganism is now associated with marginal, aggressive subculture. Tash Peterson stands alongside those who poured soup over a Van Gogh painting, thinking they were doing something great. Where are they now? Serving their sentences, of course. If Tash doesn't stop, her end is predictable. Well, let's hope she learns to use her brain. If not, then at least I'll have new topics for my videos.